Hello, and welcome to BNI UK and Europe Edition. I'm Giancarlo Matera, reporting from London. We'll be bringing you news reports from the United Kingdom and Europe. And we have reporters on standby, ready to give you their reports. On our program today, the UK Prime Minister announces home working and vaccine passports required in England. Queen Elizabeth II reappears with Windsor audience. And Omicron cases so far appear mostly mild from the EU agency. From the United Kingdom, we have a report from Janelle Ann Pasuga on the majestic tiaras of Josephine Bonaparte sold here in the UK. From Israel, they now are opposing new travel restrictions. This report will be brought to us by Judith Emus. And in our sports update, Ryan Florentino reports as Lewis Hamilton finishes first in a thrilling race against his rival, Max Verstappen. In a review from our window this week, we go to Marseille with its greenest place, Parc Borelli. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Wednesday announced the tightening of virus restrictions in England as Omicron variant cases surge, including guidance to work from home and mandatory vaccine passports. Johnson said at the briefing that as the rate of Omicron cases was doubling every 2 to 3 days, it was the proportionate and responsible thing to move to Plan B here in England. As part of the raft of measures, the government is introducing advice to work from home in England from Monday, the Prime Minister said. He added that the government in a week's time will make it compulsory to show COVID vaccine passports in England for the first time, while the devolved administrations of Scotland and Wales have already brought in similar measures. These will be required for entry into venues where a large crowd gathers. The government is also making it a legal requirement to wear masks in most public indoor venues, including theatres and cinemas. Boris Johnson said, "We just have to respond today in a way that we are," he said, while insisting the new measures do not amount to a new lockdown and people can continue with their parties and children events. The Prime Minister stressed the importance of people taking up their vaccine and booster doses that are now being offered. The single biggest thing that every one of us can do is to get our jabs and crucially get that booster as soon as our turn arrives, he said. Queen Elizabeth II on Wednesday was pictured holding an audience at Windsor Castle in her first such appearance in 2 weeks as concerns mount over the monarch's state of health. The 95-year-old was shown smiling as she bestowed a medal on concert organist Thomas Trotter while standing close to a chair. The Queen was last pictured holding an audience on November 24th, when she received the Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey. In October, royal officials said that the monarch had spent the night at a private hospital in central London after unspecified tests. Aides insisted the overnight stay was for practical reasons, and she had resumed light duties shortly afterwards. However, she subsequently withdrew from a planned appearance at the UN Climate Change Summit in Scotland in November, represented instead by her son, Prince Charles. She also did not attend the annual Remembrance Sunday event honoring British war's dead on November 14th due to a sprained back. Since then, she has cut down on her engagements and held some meetings online, while she attended the christening of 2 of her great-grandchildren on November 21. The Queen, who lost her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, in April, is to celebrate her Platinum Jubilee next year. She has made Windsor Castle, around 27 miles west of London, her main residence since her first coronavirus lockdown in March 2020. Omicron, the new highly mutated variant, continues to spark global panic since its first emergence last month. It is thought to be more contagious, cause more severe illness, and evade vaccines. This is according to the World Health Organization this week, and early signs of the variant suggest it might indeed be more infectious. The European Medicines Agency, EMA, however, said on Thursday that the cases of Omicron so far appear to be mostly mild. It is still being investigated whether the variant could cause severe disease. The cases appear to be mostly mild, however, we need to gather more evidence to determine whether the spectrum of disease severity caused by Omicron is different to that of all the other variants that have been circulating so far. He also mentioned that it is too soon to comment on the effectiveness of the vaccines against Omicron, as they do not have enough data to determine this, but they are continuously working to gather more evidence in this regard. But the makers of the Pfizer vaccine believes its third dose of vaccine offers effective protection against the variant. It is also in the middle of developing an Omicron-specific jab that should be available in March 2022. So far, the EMA has approved 4 COVID vaccines: Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and AstraZeneca, all manufactured to either protect against infections or allow for mild disease to opposed to severe. EMA has also given the light to Merck's anti-COVID pill, acknowledged as a breakthrough treatment because it can be taken at home. It's time for a break now, but please come back for some more E&I UK and Europe edition.
Di ko akalain na ako'y magmamahal, ang makasama ka sa buhay ko ay hiling sa may kapal. Di ko man maamin.
Hi guys, ako po si RJ Zon at abangan niyo po ako bilang guest performer sa Letters and Music ngayong darating na linggo, December 12, 1 to 2 p.m. Dito lang yan sa Net 25. See you po!
Sa mundo mo,
Ang paggawa ng pelikula ay isang kamanghamanghang pagkakataon para sa mga mahilig manood ng sine o ang tawag ng iba ay pinilakang tabing. But as they say, it is another thing to create a filmmaking business that makes money. Para kumita ang pelikula, you need to know about sales, distribution, the audience, and how to get your film out there. Katulad ng ibang negosyo, pinaplano ang konsepto ng screenplay, ang gusto ng manonood, sino ang cast and crew para sa isang magandang pelikula, lalo na ang direktor nito, at pakikipag-partner sa mga sales agents at distributors, maging ang uri, tema o tipo ng pelikula. What can a person expect before embarking on the business of filmmaking or production? In this episode, we'll find out the tricks of the trade with our guest, the CEO of Kai's Ventures, Direct Eric Quizon, as we discuss directing and filmmaking as a business.
Kung ang mga pelikula mo gusto mong makarating sa mga international platforms, ang pinaka-importante sa mga to, kailangan maganda ang sound, kailangan maganda ang quality. Before I criticize a movie, I try to enjoy it first.
All these in this episode of Open for Business.
Tulong para sa kabuhayan ng mga katutubong ITAS, inihatid ng Responde. Pagsagip sa mga batang rugby sa Santa Rosa, Laguna, ikinasa. Mga batang isinilang na may club foot, bibigyan ng pag-asa na makapaglakad ng diretso. Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi. Ito ang Responde, Mata ng Mamamayan.
Welcome back to ENI UK and Europe Edition. I'm Giancarlo Matera with more interesting stories from around the United Kingdom and Europe this week. One of two tiaras belonging to Josephine Bonaparte, the wife of Napoleon Bonaparte, sold at auction in London Tuesday for nearly £600,000. With us today with the details is Janelle and Kasugo. Let's watch.
On Tuesday, a pair of highly rare centuries-old headpieces encrusted with jewels and believed to have belonged to the French Empress Josephine Bonaparte sold at auction in London for nearly £600,000. Let's take a look.
You have the tiara, the hairpiece, and the earrings. They are glyptics or intaglios of the finest quality that we believe to have been owned by Empress Josephine. Made by a jeweler in about 1805. The style of them is very evocative of the neoclassical era. You never know, you might see some socialite daughter coming up at her wedding sometime soon wearing one of these, but generally we would expect someone to put these in their private collection or hopefully donate them to a museum where they will be on display to the public again. So the estimate on this one is £200,000 to £300,000, and on the cameo tiara is £100,000 to £200,000. It's incredibly difficult to know what they will go for in the end because they are such rare examples. In our research, we've tried to find similar examples that have come up either at auction or even in private collections, and there just aren't any.
The two tiaras, offered from a private British collection dating back to at least 150 years, are thought to have been given to Napoleon Bonaparte's wife by his sister Caroline in the early 19th century. Both headpieces, each part of a pillar, a set of matching jewellery designed to be worn together, are set with gems engraved with classical heads, several of which are possibly ancient, the auction house has said. The more ornate of the duo, comprising carnelian, enamel and gold, fetched around £450,600, while the other sold for £126,000 as part of a treasure sale of various valuable and rare items. Jewellery expert Christian Spoforth noted that these jewels offered here demonstrate the finest delicate work by the finest French workshops, and today there are hardly any comparable pieces in the world. He continued by saying that when fashion changes, jewellery was broken up and remodelled, making their survival a truly exceptional one. Josephine Bonaparte was likely given the engraved gems, a possible combination of Roman examples dating back to as early as 100 BC, as well as more contemporary Italian engravings. The auctioneers believe the jewels were then mounted for her in the French capital in around 1808 in the neoclassical style, citing marks on the crowns pointing to Paris and its famed goldsmiths of the age. They were believed to endow the wearer with various depicted qualities such as heroism, faithfulness and love, all while blazing a trail in the fashion world of the day. No details were immediately released Tuesday on the identity of the buyers. The tiaras were said to have been possibly acquired from Josephine or her estate by British landowner, art collector and politician Edward Lascelles, and then passed on to by his descendants. Reporting from London, United Kingdom, I'm Janelle Kasuga. We live in interesting times.
The entry of the Omicron variant has pushed Israel to once again place its barriers to any foreigners starting November 28th, unless they have the approval of the government panel to enter the country. EBC correspondent Judith Imes has the report for us. Let's listen in.
Early November, Israel opened the country to all tourists for the first time in 18 months due to the pandemic. But the Omicron variant has pushed the country once again to ban the entry to the country starting November 28th. The Omicron variant, or formerly known as B11529, is designated as a variant of concern by the World Health Organization. Researchers across the world have been pointing to the variant having an unusually large number of mutations. As of December 8, Israel has 21 confirmed cases of the Omicron variant. The people who have been infected with the Omicron variant will be required to spend 14 days in isolation. There were also 651 new confirmed carriers of virus as of December 7, according to the Ministry of Health of Israel. At the same time, the number of serious patients continued to decline, dropping to 102. A week ago is at 116. For now, Israel has strictly placed its barriers to any foreigner unless they receive special permissions from the government panel. All returnees have to quarantine for a minimum of 7 days, including the first day in a coronavirus hotel, until the first PCR taken upon landing returns negative. For those who land in the country without taking a second PCR test prior to their flight will be charged 2,500 shekels. At the moment, Israel is expected to reopen on December 13, 2021. From Israel, I am Judith Imus. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Judith, for bringing us this update from Israel. It's time for another break now, but please come back for some more ENI UK and Europe edition.
Ready na ba kayo sa mga tanong namin na nakakaaliw at nakakabaliw? Let's take a look at our talent gamers for tonight. Mike Cabasco, a.k.a. Mawili Taylor, Herwin Santos, a.k.a. Apple D.A., Christopher Samson, a.k.a. Kuko Martin, Michael Angelo Alasak, a.k.a. Mr. B. Paul. Sino ang nakasama ni Mel Gibson sa isang Oscar-winning movie na The Year of Living Dangerously? Mr. Big Don. Start again.
Agad!
I'm staring at the answer, and I'm gonna be fearless, shout it out loud. Started with a whisper, now I wanna sing out, sing it loud, loud, louder, oh loud, loud, loud.
Hey everybody, I'm Alpha. Please catch me on Letters and Music this coming Saturday, December 11th from 1 to 2 p.m. only here on Net 25. See ya.
Sing it out louder.
Ngayong may pandemya, marami ang walang trabaho at mataas ang presyo ng bilihin. Isa sa nakikitang solusyon para makaiwas sa pagkagutom ay ang pagtatanim. May ilan, problemado sa espasyo dahil maliit ang kanilang lugar. Pero may sagot riyan para makapagtanim, ang hydroponics. Sa hydroponics, hindi ginagamitan ng lupa ang pinagtataniman, kundi tubig at nutrient solution lamang. Sa hydroponics, makakapagtanim ka ng gulay at kahit anong halaman. Masusolusyonan ang problema sa kagutuman at matutugunan ang seguridad sa pagkain.
In our latest sports report, Ryan Florentino gives us his report on this week's sporting action. Let's hear from him.
Lewis Hamilton kept his hopes of an 8th World Championship title alive with a thrilling victory in a dramatic and at times chaotic Saudi Arabian Grand Prix on Sunday. Hamilton was behind Verstappen for much of the 50-lap race, which was stopped twice because of crashes and interrupted numerous times by the safety car and virtual safety car. But Hamilton came through late to claim his 8th win of the season and the 103rd career win. The title will be settled in Abu Dhabi, although if neither finishes in the points, it will be Verstappen, who has 9 victories, who will take the title. "I have been racing a long time, but that was incredibly tough," said Hamilton, who gained an extra point for the fastest lap. "For me, this is not Formula One, but at least the fans enjoyed it, and I gave it all today. But clearly, not quick enough," said Verstappen. It was the first time that Jeddah, a city in Saudi Arabia, had hosted a Grand Prix, and the problems that the drivers, including Verstappen, had in practice and qualifying were apparent again. For once, Mercedes made the perfect start, having locked out the front row. They succeeded in holding Verstappen at bay. Behind them, Sergio Perez was clipped by Charles Leclerc's Ferrari, causing the Red Bull to spin off. On lap 36, Hamilton attempted to overtake Verstappen, but in a move similar to their battle in Brazil. Verstappen cut across Hamilton to keep the lead. Verstappen was ordered to give the place back, but as he braked, Hamilton ran into the back of his car, damaging his front wing. When the Dutchman was again instructed to make way, he pulled over to let Hamilton pass and then immediately retook the lead. A lap later, Hamilton slipped past again to move back in front, and this time with Verstappen also hit by the 5-second penalty, which he was able to lead all the way to the finish line. And that about wraps up our sports report for this week. Please tune in next week for more sports news like this. Once again, I'm Ryan Florentino reporting for ENI UK and Europe edition, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you for bringing us that sports update, Ryan. In today's View from Our Window, we take a look at the Borelli Park located in Marseille. It is a public municipal park renowned as one of the most remarkable gardens in France. In 1775, the engineer and architect worked on this garden, which to this day you can still find imprints of his work. The 18-hectare space you can find in its 1.2 botanical garden and an 18th century country house, a rose garden, a path which is very popular to joggers and walkers. This video is courtesy of our EBC France Bureau. Thank you so much for sharing us this wonderful view. And that's it for today's program. We hope you stay safe and keep positive as we bring you more stories next week from around the United Kingdom and Europe. I'm Giancarlo Matera, and we live in interesting times.